back to the Erica Show. I'm your host, Erica from Crypto Soul. The Erica Show allows us to connect with active and talented builders in the crypto space, and this episode is a Halloween special. 안녕하세요. 크립토서울 에리카입니다. 에리카쇼는 다양한 빌더들과 소통하는 기회를 제공하기 위해서 만들게 된 인터뷰 시리즈이고, 오늘은 8번째 게스트님 모셨는데요. 런칭 후 불과 몇 개월 만에 DeFi 대표 프로젝트로 부상한 아베 대표님, 스타니 콜레초프님을 모셨습니다. 아베의 마스코트가 유령이기도 하고 또 할로윈쯤에 인터뷰가 나갈 예정이라서 저도 한국형 유령 처녀 귀신으로 꾸며보았습니다. Today I'm super excited to welcome Stani Kulechov, CEO of Aave Protocol. Stani, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here, Erika, and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. This show is going to be released just before Halloween, so this is perfect timing for Aave and also for me as well. And thank you for the backdrop. The backdrop is amazing with the Halloween concept, and Aave, the ghost, is dressed up as a witch.
Yeah, and it feels like there's Halloween every day at Aave. I mean, our basically mascot is a ghost, and Aave means ghost in Finnish as well. So it's always a Halloween for us.
I saw that definition on the website and I was like, this is super cool. And I was about to ask that and I saw it on the website, and this is the perfect mascot for this season, but it's all year Halloween, which is my favorite season. So I'm just very happy to have you here and Aave's the show. So yeah. So prior to the interview, I gathered some questions from diverse communities, including the Korean community, so that I can ask you on behalf of the community. And lately, you've done so many interviews and presentations, so I had to go through a lot of them, not to overlap too much, but I do want to differentiate in some ways, which one of them is the costume, but also, in many aspects, like, for example, talking about more about community building. Yeah, so first of all, this style is a Korean style ghost called 처녀 귀신. I'm a dead woman and in the middle of the cemetery, and usually this is a famous Korean ghost style, so hope you like it. But as a starting question, could you give us a short intro of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm Stani. I'm the founder and CEO at Aave. So Aave, the ghost, is a decentralized money market protocol, which just means that you can deposit different kinds of cryptographic assets into our protocol without giving up custody and earn interest. It's basically as simple as that. And when you deposit assets, you can also borrow. A credit line is granted to you, so you could borrow yourself some other asset that you deposited, or you can give someone else the right to borrow. In practice, we're pretty much a lending and borrowing protocol that is built on Ethereum. And we built the first one, ETH-Lend, and now Aave is continuation. Yeah, and I definitely love the ghost outfit, and it's pretty interesting. I need to read more about this, where the story comes from.
I will send you the image, and hopefully it looks similar, but it's 11 p.m. here, and I'm just kind of, I should go outside and maybe like this outfit. And definitely. And I, as you mentioned just previously, Aave is the ETH-Lend project. It was previously called ETH-Lend project. And could you tell me more about the origin of that project and the rebranding story and how it began? The transfer is still ongoing, right? And could you tell me more about that as well?
Yeah, definitely. So it was interesting story because when I was studying still in the university, I was reading about. I was actually focused quite a lot. I mean, I was in law school. I was focusing quite a lot in contract law, and somehow I found it. I was researching like technology and how to improve, automatize contracts. And I stumbled upon into smart contracts and basically how the blockchain technology allows this immutable transactions that can be even quite complex. And when I understood the value proposition, I kind of got more interested in, and because before studying law and so forth, I used to develop financial applications. and that was always something that I like to do, and then I started just to build, and I built the first lending protocol. It was more of a proof of concept in the sense that it was very early days of the whole Ethereum, and there wasn't this kind of like ecosystem. Now, if you think about decentralized finance, there's many applications, and one application protocol can interact with another one, and it's all open, permissionless, and it was back then as well, but there wasn't just it was kind of like a party with just like two people. Now there's actually a festival going on. That's how I describe the current status quo.
Back in the day, it was quite a small grouping, I'm sure, but you guys stuck through, and look how you've begun. You've become like such a big project now, and through this like several months, basically you've turned into one of the representative DeFi projects in the space, which is definitely amazing. Yeah, and I searched on the website again, and Aave is. I really love. I mean, just a personal thought, but I really am addicted to your pronunciation of Aave. When you say Aave, it's like it sticks to me so well. I'm like Aave, but it's a Finnish word that means ghost. And how did you come up with the name? I'm really curious, like, because I mean, ghost has I saw there was a meaning why you have a ghost as your product name. But can you tell me more about who came up with the idea and the origin?
Yeah, we were brainstorming inside of the team, like what could be like a good name, and maybe something that could have a very nice kind of like a mascot as well, and tried to different kinds of things. And we started to think even like French words, but they were all taken by different brands, and then we were thinking that actually like Finnish words are pretty cool, because they're not that used, like it's the last country on the planet that you will take a vocabulary and start reading words, and they're also very different and weird, like for example, Aave maybe like in English, let's say English native speakers would say Aave, and so it was kind of funny because we had to first always, when we meet someone, pretty much start with how it's pronounced, and it's always a challenge for us. But nevertheless, I think we started to think different kinds of characters, and I think Ghost as a character and as a kind of like theme was interesting, because when we are building protocols which are decentralized, there is no kind of like an entity behind it. The entity is actually a ghost entity. So our team exists, and like we are here, we build things, we contribute, but we don't actually like exist. Like the protocol itself exists. So that's the kind of like underlying meaning there. And the second thing is because it has two A letters. So if there's like a directory, like like we are always listed in very beginning. So that is like there is also like a business logic involved there, and it's very helpful.
That's awesome. Oh, that's very strategic. Oh, I should really think of that. Oh, that's a very good tip, actually. Very important. I mean, although, technology, of course, is the most important in the blockchain space, but still, I think like the branding, how the community is built, like that's also super important. And, how Aave is doing is, yeah, it's very impressive. I mean, from my perspective. And so I really wanted to know, and there's like these terms like Avengers, Aavenomics, Aaveachi. There's like all these like amazing. I mean, did the community think of these names as well? Aavenomics, Aaveachi. Like I don't know like where that came from. I mean, it's just amazing on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Everywhere.
It's exactly kind of like it starts from somewhere always. It's not necessarily from the Aave team. I mean, Aaveachi is a project built in the Aave ecosystem. Very interesting. Like it's practically NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and DeFi mixed up together, which is quite fascinating. but it's just like a part of the culture. So when you think about branding, you usually think about culture, especially if there's community involved, right? Mm-hmm. And for us, it has helped a lot because like in our like branding communications, there's like a big meme culture within Aave, and with everything we communicate, you know, like I mean, we don't say awesome, we say Aave, like how we write it. There's kind of a small stuff, but it binds the community together. It feels silly, but I mean it's fun, you know, and right. You know, if you can make your work or your passion more fun, why not? I mean, it's more easier to and more fun to work that way.
It's very impactful as well, and it makes you want to belong in the community. If you know, so yeah, that's super awesome. I'm just happy to know like this type of like branding exists and that I can learn from it. So because I'm always learning from like other projects, and so yeah, this is amazing. We'll get into that a little bit later about the NFTs and you know the interesting stuff. But just for the people who don't know what Aave is, right? How does the mechanism generally work? It's pretty simple, like, but then still, can you kind of run through, if you're a beginner's perspective, how would you explain Aave, and you know who can use it, and you know who would benefit from it, and so forth?
Yeah. So in the practice, we have two users in the sense that we have the protocol users, and then we have the kind of like a community user. So the protocol user is anyone who has some sort of cryptographic assets on Ethereum that is supported by our protocol. It could be Ethereum, it could be Aave, it could be Link, it could be stablecoins. And practically, if you want yield for your stablecoins or other assets, you can deposit into the protocol, which means that once you deposit it, you start to earn interest. So that's the kind of like a main thing. And also, once you deposit it, you can also draw the credit line as well. So we have user case where, for example, you have Ethereum in your wallet, but you don't want to sell it. You could just deposit into Aave, borrow stable coins instead, and use them wherever you need, convert to traditional currency, or do whatever that you want to do in decentralized finance. And the second use case is that, and you might be just a community member, and you have Aave tokens, and you participate into the governance. So you make different kinds of decisions, what kind of assets could be added to the protocol, the risk parameters, and in return, you're basically staking into this safety module, and you're getting rewards, but you're kind of like insuring the protocol for the depositors. In practice, it means that you provide insurance, so you're writing insurance as a token holder. So there's like two cases: you can deposit, earn, or you can just insure and earn. Those are the most simple use cases that we have. And currently, there's roughly like 1 billion worth of value locked in the Aave protocol, which is quite nice because it was like 0 in the beginning of this year.
Yes. In January.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. It's amazing. And on the website, on the front page, it says total lend migrated to Aave is 81.979%. Yeah. That's what I remember recently. What does this mean in specific? Like, how can you explain this for people who don't know about the path? Like, how it's migrated? Why it's migrated?
The pre-Ghost era. Yeah. So our previous token was the lend token, and to support this kind of a new token economics, the staking and especially this kind of like a passive insuring where the stake doesn't cover if there is a bigger deficit, if something happens. There's this protocol recovery function where more Aave could be minted and the deficit of the protocol could be covered. So we have to do a technical upgrade. And we started to do this upgrade from lend token to Aave token. So we renamed just to get kind of like more consistency in the branding. And it happened, the migration started 3 weeks ago, and roughly over 81% migrated. So it's been quite successful in that sense. And I'm pretty impressed because I've seen migrations happen quite frequently. And there might be situations where after 6 months, only 70% have migrated. And that is a bit worrying for me. But when you look at the Aave community, you see that they're quite aware what's happening, and they're following, and that is pretty amazing.
It's happening very fast, so I'm sure like it's going to reach 100% very soon, right? You think?
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully, I mean, it's going to slow down at some point. Like I think in 90%, it's going to be more slower, and so basically, but it's an open migration at the moment, so there's no migration deadline. Usually there is, but it's up to the governance. The token holders can practically decide whether close the migration after 6 months, a year, or whatever they actually want to, and feels right.
Right. And understanding the mechanism, right? There are some terminologies that people might not know about, as a little unfamiliar to them. And there are these A tokens, right? And I'm sure you explained this a million times, but A tokens was a little bit unfamiliar to me, and it can be compared to C tokens in Compound. That's what a lot of people say. But A tokens, right? How do you get it, and how can you use it? Is there some simple explanation that you can give us?
Definitely. So A tokens is probably the most impressive innovation we ever created in the short history of Aave during this year. So what's impressive there is that in essence, when you deposit, let's say, DAI stablecoin into Aave or any other, you get in return a DAI, which is kind of like a receipt for your deposit. Now, you could give this receipt to your friend, and your friend can claim that deposit from the protocol. But what's interesting is actually that the A tokens are increasing in their balance all the time as you're earning interest. And this is pretty cool because it means that if you store your A tokens in your MetaMask wallet, in your IM token wallet, wherever you're storing them, and basically you will see directly how much you deposited and how much you're earning all the time. And what's important here is that because stablecoins are pegged to the US dollar, it practically means that you have a permissionless global savings account. And that is huge because you practically have a currency in your wallet that has automated treasury management. So it basically earns by itself passively. And if you come in from a region where you have, let's say, local currencies that are they have high inflation, or let's say there's not good yields in the traditional banking system, this kind of product is pretty cool because it's completely permissionless and no one can come between your holding of the A tokens and the interest you're earning. And you can actually send the A tokens to someone else, and they still keep like increasing in balance. So it's actually a way better payment currency than normal stable coins or normal, fiat dollars that are basically that have inflation or are decreasing in value. So it really is completely different kind of a dynamic, and that is very powerful.
Mm-hmm, definitely. It's one of the innovations that you have made, and I think another one was flash loans, right? And it's that's one of the keywords, I think, hot keywords of this year. Flash loans. I hear this all the time. Can you briefly explain this concept as well? And can you give us examples of how people can use these flash loans besides arbitrage, right? Like how in other usage and.
Definitely. So currently, and the whole year, we noticed that roughly 70-75% of the depositors, they're not borrowing. So that liquidity is in the protocol, which basically means that, how can I say that? I mean, it's just not borrowed, it's there as collaterals. But what's interesting is that anyone could actually borrow that liquidity with the flash loans. So normal loan transaction works in a way that you use something as a collateral, but in flash loans, you can basically borrow 100% without a collateral. And the only condition is that you return the loan back to the protocol. And if you don't, your borrow transaction will fail. And also whatever other transactions you did in Ethereum will fail as well. and to understand this like technically better, it's kind of like works in this way that in every Ethereum block you have transactions, but then you can make nested transactions. So basically you could take a flash borrow and buy currency A from exchange A and sell it in exchange B for a higher price and get the profit and return into Aave. But you can do also like other cool stuff. You can refinance loans between two protocols without the end user returning the loan. And it's usually like a tool for developer to create, to get liquidity and create those kind of products for the end users. So that's the kind of like a key thing. As an end user, you probably will not take a flash loan, but you might be using a product that takes a flash loan for you so that you don't need to use capital. And I think like easiest example is that you could change your loan position or loan currency without returning the loan, and that's very powerful in the sense of in decentralized finance.
Definitely. I think it could be used for a hackathon, right? For developers to use this concept, right?
I all the time pitch it. I tell everyone in all hackathons that this is like a tool that you could try to build some new product out of this, And in every hackathon, there is some new innovation. Like,
right.
I thought in the beginning that there's like 3-4 use cases, or maybe like 3 use cases for flash loans.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's like in total maybe I think like 20 or something. So like all the time people just come up, and this is like decentralized finance. Like anyone can build anywhere from the world. It can be in Seoul, can be in here in London, can be in Finland, where I come from originally, and and it can just build the next financial product that uses flash loans and is using the whole decentralized finance ecosystem. So it's not just permissionless access to financial services, but it's also permissionless access to build them, and that is like pretty nice.
Oh, that's a very good point. And I believe that ETH Online is still ongoing, right? And you're participating, Aave, I saw the presentation.
I'm mentoring, Aave sponsoring and helping hackers, and I'm always very active in hackathons. I try to help as much as I can, even in the brainstorming of ideas. So yeah, definitely that is something that is close to my heart.
Oh yeah, I think the Korean community could use some hacking, and the developer market is still stable, I think, in the blockchain space in Korea. So I think who knows, right? They could build the next financial product.
We need a hackathon in Korea, I think.
I know. I was just going to do that, but then COVID hit, so yeah, bad timing. But hopefully, very soon we can have a ETH hackathon in Korea, and at Aave hackathon, who knows, right? We'll see what happens. And I think Aave was all over the news. It was all over Twitter. A lot of people in Korea know about it. But what do you think was the main reason and why Aave exploded in terms of like volume, where it is now? Like from your perspective, right? What do you think is one of the main reasons?
I think because of the developers that are building on top of Aave, there's just so many cool projects out there. There's this, like, for example, DeFi Saver that is basically helping you to optimize yield, and not just yield, but your DeFi positions. There's Wirearn that is optimizing actually yield. Stable, the stable currency basket, they're keeping funds in Aave Curve as well. Like all these projects that have been building, they choose Aave. Maybe one of the reasons that it's very developer friendly, but it's also kind of like we build secure, sustainable systems, and that is something that is very important in this ecosystem. And for the end users, it's just pretty simple to use. It's really, really simple. There's probably like over 50 access points into the protocol to deposit. Monitor Wallet, Alpha Wallet, IM Token, so many.
Right.
And also we have our own user interface that can be used, and we made it very, very simple to use. And of course, I think we have had like very good network effects, you know, we do a lot of memes. We know how to entertain the community and have fun and, you know, like enjoy what we are doing. And that's very part of what's important, I think, for the whole year.
Yeah, many factors. And that's just like the timing was perfect as well. So yeah, definitely. I recently listened to your talk on Liquidity 2020, which CryptoSoul was a community sponsor, but yeah, it was great. And you briefly introduced V2 of Aave Protocol. Since the launch of, you know, Aave in January this year and the explosive growth, right? The need for, you know, V2 must have gotten stronger, right? Could you elaborate on this and like introduce V2 for those who have not listened to the talk?
Yeah, I mean, in essence, V2 is based on the version 1, but it's very, very optimized. So basically, we refactored a lot of code base to get a lot of gas optimization, and gas optimization is very important in decentralized finance because every transaction costs something. You know, right. The same way as you do bank transactions, you don't actually pay for them, but at the end of the day, you will pay in some way, taking a loan from the bank and so forth. But in the same way that there's in Ethereum those transactions, and we basically optimized in our code. And there's sort of features. So Aave Protocol is a money market protocol. So we have now one main market, and we have the Uniswap LP shares as a one market. So if you provide liquidity to Uniswap and you get in return this kind of like receipt token, you can use it as a collateral in Aave. But in the future, you could use similar tokens from Curve, and you know, like we're going to create multiple money markets, and this means that each money market has their own risk profile that basically can be used, and you can arbitrage between interest rates. So you could decide, okay, I want more yield, so you take more risk, for example, or you want less risk, you get less yield. And there's some cool native functionality. For example, when you deposit into Aave, you can swap your deposit easily. Let's say if you deposited USDC, but you see DAI is giving better rate, you could just swap your position to DAI, and you could also swap your, this is the collateral actually swapping, but you can also, if you took a loan, let's say in Tether, you could basically swap it in TrueUSD if the rate is cheaper, and this kind of like a functionality. And also you could practically repay your whole loan with the collateral, so you don't need to actually come back with the money and repay. You could just press a button, and part of your collateral is basically sold, and the loan is repaid, and you get the rest of the collateral, or it stays in the protocol. Mm-hmm. So there's this kind of interesting stuff going on, and this is just partially of the features that we have. There's going to be pretty more interesting things coming up. So I mean, the version 2 is dramatically big improvement and step for us. And yeah, we're pretty much having now the internal testnet that we are testing, and we will be quite soon in mainnet.
Wow, yeah, this is great. And governance is all, of course, like a crucial part of DeFi. And could you tell me more about how the governance mechanism works?
Yeah, so governance in essence means that as an Aave token holder, you have the power of deciding various different things. So you could decide, for example, what kind of you know, what kind of things could be upgraded in the protocol. You know, for example, the new version 2, that is something that the governance vote on implementing new assets, risk parameters, and so forth. And each and every vote usually it has a payload, which basically means that if the vote threshold is reached, the smart contract code will automatically execute, and it becomes live. And that is a very cool thing. And the idea of the governance is actually that it's not the Aave team that decides on how the protocol is governed. It's actually the whole, you know, token holder base, and anyone can be part of that community.
Right. And one of the questions that came from the community was that, you know, how do you expect to manage the quality control on like community governance listings for Aave?
That's a good question. How we did it in the past, usually Aave team itself, we have a risk team internally that reviews each and single listing with the according to the kind of like a risk framework that we have. It's public in the documentation, and there is, for example, market risk, liquidity risk, smart contract risk. Every asset has all of these risks, and based on that, we make an assessment and we listed a currency. But now, actually, that information also is something that we might do a risk assessment and we publish it in the governance forum, and you know, based on that, the token holders can actually decide. But I think in the future there will be other entities doing the similar risk assessment. There might be, you know, agencies that are doing this risk assessment, and we already see like Gauntlet or Delphi Digital participating in governance, and they're doing financial modeling. So I think there will be tools in the future, and probably a way to reward those kind of like work from the Aave reserve decided by the token holders. So I think that will be how the risk assessment will be managed in the future.
Awesome. And you mentioned on Twitter that it takes years to build a strong community, which I totally agree with. And, you know, I myself as a community builder have felt this so strongly, and, you know, it's definitely difficult and challenging to build a healthy community, long-living community. How did you build a community? I mean, it's a very vague question, but it's also a question that a lot of people are curious, including me. What was one of the strategies that you used, I guess, and, you know, something that you connected with the developers?
Yeah, I think most importantly, I think I was quite active personally. So if the community sees that there is the founder of the project is active from year to year all the time, like I'm probably not like as active I used to be in the community side, because I have now multiple areas I need to be at the same time.
I'm sure.
But, yeah, but still I'm quite active. I'm active in the you know, Telegram community, the Discord community, in the governance forum, and, you know, in Twitter participating, and also like actually not just participating in the Aave community, but in general the whole DeFi, Ethereum, and you know, blockchain ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very big part of the work of gluing people together. And of course, you know, it's a work that takes time. You know, there needs to be some set of goals, like short term, mid term, and long term, like what you want to achieve as a community, and that way you can actually have milestones. You know, if the version 2 is the next step, you know, the whole community should be like focusing on that and anticipating on that. If they aren't, and you come up with version 2, it's kind of like unexpected. So there should be always like a public, this kind of like a roadmap of what's coming. Not really like a fixed roadmap, but just a public consensus of what's coming up next, so the community can be aligned into that direction.
Consistent.
And yeah, so those two things are like being close, transparently communicating what could be next, and actually listening to the community on how to proceed, and also like trying to do more compromises than actually like taking sides. So instead of actually like, you know, if the community is in line to some particular idea, and you have one group that is in another, I think it's better like also to try to do compromises in where you can, because then when you have actual votes, you know, it's always a majority vote in that sense. So compromises are really good, and also like, you know, in the sense that finding like you know, the compromise before the topic goes to actual voting, and then it's kind of like yes or no. So those are the key things. And yeah, I have to emphasize listening. You know, I've seen it happen too many times that the team doesn't want to listen to the community, you know, but need to be just like very to understand that it's a community-based project. So that's like the important thing. They're eventually backing you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think your one of your backgrounds as you were studying law, as you just previously said, right? So like compromise, and that was a key point that I sense from your background, because like usually people don't say like I never heard like a specific advice like that. So it's a very good advice to some of the players out there. And yeah, thank you so much for that. And and back to Aaveachi, right? So you did stress a lot on like the fascinating aspects of NFTs and the combination with DeFi. And can you tell me more about what it is and who's behind it, and what do you think are the potential are of the collaboration between NFTs and DeFi?
Yeah, definitely. So practically, the idea of NFTs, well, not the NFTs, but actually Aaveachi was born by there was one project called Yield Hero in the Hack Money Hackathon by our community member Dan, and he basically started to think like his next kind of project what to do, and he was very into non-fungible collectibles. And then he started to build this kind of like a ecosystem project called Aaveachi. So it's actually not built by us, but it's his and their team. And the idea is that they have this kind of like a portals which you can buy with this ghost token, and inside those portals you have this farmed, like this kind of like rarity farming of different kinds of ghosts. And those ghosts are actually like collectibles, and there's like a legendary, there's like a rare and common, and then you can unlock those ghosts. So they're not still like movable, so you need to actually deposit into Aave and earn interest, and the better you save money, like the more better you're saving money, the quicker you unlock the ghost. And once you unlock the ghost, you can do a bunch of other stuff. You could basically have like wearables, that you can dress them up, and then you have also consumables. So there's like things that the ghost can consume as well, and it's a pretty cool way to actually like have like a behavior, because it's eventually it's all about teaching people to save money in a nice way, and also kind of you get the collectibles. And then, because of the composability, because the same composability that there is in DeFi is in NFTs, so someone else can actually come up with another like a game, and you just use those NFTs there, and just invite everyone who has a Aaveachi to come and play. So it's actually a very cool composability thing going on as well in the future.
And ghosts will be floating around in the space.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. Yeah, and you're still shipping very aggressively, and the team is working very hard. I can literally see. And but what is in the pipeline for you? Immediate roadmap milestones, long-term milestones, anything that you are currently like really focused on right now?
Yeah, well, mainly on the version 2. Once we finish all the testing and we deploy, then we will focus on creating new markets. So probably there's on the pipeline multiple markets. There's one, even 2 permissioned markets, where basically you have real assets as a collateral and you can borrow against. And then after those market deployments, we're going to focus a bit on the governance. So we want to innovate there in the governance module with both delegations and some other interesting things. And pretty much after that, we're going to start planning version 3.
Keep going, fiddling.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what would be some of the biggest challenges for Aave at this moment? I mean, I think one of the obvious things that I can see is like it's too fast. So like the team has to grow, right? Maybe. Yeah. Is that one of the challenges?
You are absolutely right. We have a lot of growing pains. And that is why, like, what we are going to do is that we're going to get more and more community members to contribute in the code base, for example, that anyone can actually contribute in the code base, get some sort of compensation from the Aave reserve, and just participate in the building of the whole ecosystem. And I think that's the way to actually build something like Aave Protocol. I mean, that is how, for example, Linux was built. And I think at this current state, there's like 23 people in the Aave team, over half our developers. And I think we probably need way more contributors. And it's already happening today. There's people building things. And once version 2 is live, they can actually contribute into the version 2.
Wow. Yeah, so I guess that's one of the growing pains, but then that's scalability is also a huge challenge for a startup, and you guys are definitely going through that. But it's a good thing, right? It's a very good thing.
Yeah, and also what's important is that kind of like that we are global and centralized in the sense that many of the projects are kind of like trying to be in one part of the globe and kind of like find markets. Our goal is to be like global. We want to be, for example, in Asia, we want to be in Europe and US, and also like a very balanced way. So kind of like this is our goal. Like we always try to follow like the decentralized principles, and that is like very important to do in this space.
Yeah, definitely. Talking of being global, do you have any interest or strategy on the Asian region front? I mean, COVID has made it a little difficult for us to travel physically, but is there any like upcoming strategies or plans on your behalf?
Yeah, I mean, we get like a lot of we have some part of like a community from Asia. We have strong WeChat groups. I think we have like 7 WeChat groups, and we have even like we have actually I think even Korean Telegram group, if I remember.
I'm sure there is.
And there's like a lot of things happening, and I think now we're in the stage to inform and educate people what is DeFi, what is Aave, and once we get like a user base and more interactions, we will start to move more towards like looking for institutionals and that kind of synergies. But it takes a bit time, and the market evolve. But it seems that DeFi is seen as a very interesting, like a value proposition in Asia. So I think we have like good times ahead.
Definitely. I remember that one of your developers spoke at a DeFi Seoul event recently, and I saw the meetup, and it was very successful. And there was Korean translation. That was great, and I got to understand Aave very well with that session. So I think that could be a good start. And Asia is definitely finance friendly. It's a very money loving region, including Korea. So yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of potential in the longer run. As one of the people in the center of the DeFi craze, and the market's going crazy right now, as you're also excited about. But how do you see this entire trend going? Some people say like DeFi is it's going to shrink soon. The hype is going to shrink. But what, as from your perspective, what do you see happening in the longer run?
Yeah, I think I really love this year the DeFi was got like a lot of special attention in the whole cryptocurrency blockchain community. But I really love to develop myself when it's more quieter, because there's no distractions. You can just focus on building and but still I think it comes in waves. I think last time DeFi had a like good amount of traction was over a year and a half ago or something, when like you will get on DAI deposit like 5 to 10%, and people got excited because it's way more than you get into your bank. And DeFi have like 10,000 users or even less, and like globally that's like nothing. And now like I think in Aave we have 20,000 users. So it's just like things are evolving so quickly. So I think it's not going to shrink. It's going to just grow exponentially. And there's going to be a wave after a wave after a wave of just, like integrations and adoptions. And eventually like DeFi will become something that people can use. It's easy. It's kind of like it has a lot of liquidity. And I think that's the direction we're going. I could imagine someday like banks could be integrated into decentralized finance permissionlessly or permissioned way. And I think it's just the future technology. That's like, you know, if you have something that is way better, that is like now in the wider adoption, I mean, there's just one road to go. It's very difficult to resist something that's very, very good.
Yeah, the wave is, I think it's going to be stronger and stronger. But I mean, there are concerns, and I think there's going to be pushbacks. I mean, on the way. But you know, in general, I think it's going to definitely grow stronger, and the market's going to grow, right?
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Lastly, this is the last question, but if you can you share like a short message to the Asian or Korean community for people, you know, to see?
Oh, sure. Like in Korean, or
did you know Korean? Like, do you know hello?
Not yet. That should be my plan, though, if I want to conquer the market there.
Hello means 안녕. 안녕.
안녕.
안녕.
안녕.
안녕.
안녕.
안녕. Yeah, it's hello. 안녕, 안녕.
안녕, 안녕.
Yeah, but English as well. I'll deliver it in Korean.
Yeah, so I think I would definitely urge everyone to read more about decentralized finance and basically read what Aave is doing and kind of like understand why it's better than the current system that we have in banking. And lastly, I would like everyone to urge to test Aave and see like how it works in action. And you know, and if you're interested about what we're doing, we have a Discord, aave.com/Discord, or Telegram, t.me/Aavesom. So yeah, and in Twitter, Aave. You can follow us as well. And if you want to see more memes.
The meme world. Thank you so much. I will be sure to include all these links in our description box so that people can access to this. But thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this interview and hope you did as well. And hope I can see you again in the near future.
Yeah, it was fun. And thank you, Erika.
Thank you so much.